We will wait until we are ready with live stream and then we'll start our meeting. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining us this morning. I'm going to call our Governance and Priority Committee meeting for Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 to order. We have an agenda in front of us. Ms. Klamosko, do we have any additions or deletions?
No changes or deletions from administration.
Very much. Councillor Balazer will move the agenda as presented. Comments, questions? All in favor? Unanimous. Looking at our December 6th, 2022 Governance and Priorities meeting minutes. Councillor Wanchuk, thank you very much. Comments, questions on those? I am seeing none. Call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous. On to number 4, which is our Edmonton Global Update. And we have a number of presenters this morning. So what I will do is I will turn the floor directly over to you and turn on your microphone. And whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much, Mayor DeBlanco, and it's so great to be here with Leduc County. So thank you, fellow councillors, as well for having us. I'll introduce myself and pass it on to my colleague Sheethal, and she'll pass it on to Sarah. Malcolm Bruce, our CEO, sends regrets. He was going to be with us today, but he fell sick and has been nursing an ongoing, we say, infection, so he will not be with us. I want to introduce myself. I'm one of the founding board members of Edmonton Global. I term out in April, along with Tracy Bednard and Eddie Wong, who you met last year at this time. So we feel pretty proud of what we've built in the last 6 years. It has been a journey. We always knew it would be. There's no real, there's a destination and a set of metrics that we want to reach for sure. But we know that this is an ongoing journey and a big build of something that we want to bring to this whole region. So Gail Stepanek-Kaber, my background is in marketing communications. I was a C-suite executive with Service Credit Union. You have a local branch in this area. And I retired in 2019, and I now am a board member, as well as I have my own little business that focuses on purpose, helping individuals and businesses or counties define what their purpose is, what their why is, and then helping them innovate the how and the what of the why. And with that, I'll pass it on to my colleague, Sheethal.
Thank you, Gail. Good morning, Mayor and councillors. Thank you for having me today. My name is Sheethal Walsh. I'm very honored to be here. I've spoken in many environments, but never in a county meeting, so I'm really excited about this. I come to the board, Edmonton Global Board, less than a year ago. I'm very excited to be here because I left Alberta about 25 years ago. I've spent the last 25 years working internationally in technology and innovation. I'm a founder, I'm an investor. I serve on several boards. I had the honor to work for Bill Gates to set up his venture capital strategy, and I come home with lots of learnings from various ecosystems. Currently, I'm setting up a venture capital fund for the University of Alberta, and Brad and I have just agreed to have our first event at the Business and Entrepreneurship Centre here in Leduc County. Thank you for having us. I'll hand it over to Sarah for her introduction.
Good morning. Sarah Tiet, the new VP of Strategic Partnerships for Edmonton Global. I've been with Edmonton Global since July, and I was almost born and raised in this region. I came when I was 4 months old, but I grew up here and I would love to see this region prosper. I come from the private industry, small business and accounting technology, and I look forward to doing great work for the region.
Awesome. So that is your Edmonton Global team today. We have a presentation as well as our mid-year update in your packages. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on every slide. We really want to use this time to invite feedback and comments. It has been a robust year and certainly a different year as we've been moving out of this COVID-19, even though it's not over, I'll say period. So just a bit of an outline for us. We will look at Edmonton Global, a quick overview. We'll review 2022. And then we'll talk about how we work together and then looking forward and then open it up to Q&A. So in terms of our corporate objectives, our purpose, and we had our strategic planning session last week with the board, and we really leaned into this idea of radically transform and grow the economy of the Edmonton metropolitan region. And radically transform for us was a step up from what we said innovation was back 6 years ago. And we really leaned into that. We feel that there are a lot of challenges in the ECDev space, but we believe that we can, and we are looking to transform this whole region. So our two main focuses are to attract foreign direct investment and new business to the region, as well as to increase trade exports from the region. And so we're really helping the region be ready and able and willing to export and supporting exports. And I know that your county is very active with agriculture and food products, and that is going to poise, us for the future when you think about what you're doing and all of the efforts that you're having here in your county. So we work with 14 shareholder municipalities, and I remember the interview stage of being interviewed to be a board member. And it was all of the mayors at the time that were the innovators of this concept, that in order to pull together, we had to have independent business people. And it's really hard as an elected official when you're, 4-year terms or what have you, to build something when you're really, your citizens are the ones that you are, sort of hugging and taking care of. So the concept being, let's expand this and work on collaboration, and how do we work together to make this region stronger, because it is reciprocal. I'm a Parkland County resident, don't throw buns or anything, but I worked and lived in Edmonton, yet my economic, when I spent money, I spend it in my region. And so this idea of reciprocity and how we travel throughout the region, I think we all feel it. Like, we're very mobile Albertans. And so, I was in Edmonton last night and had dinner. I'm a Parkland County rep. I'm here today. I'm going to go to your local cafe after this. Like, I feel that it's all ties in together. So this idea that the mayors had way back in 2018, 2017, I feel was very remarkable to have this foresight. Moving on, we know that we have a very unique mix of rural and agricultural, industrial, and urban land. And the question for us at the board level is, how do we project this out 5, 10, 20, 25 years? And we look at what the Alberta Heartland Institute did, and we know that they've been building their organization for 25 years. We're thinking in those terms, like, what does Edmonton Global, bring to this marketplace in 10, 15 years? So our transformational opportunities, and we knew early days as a board that we couldn't be all to everyone. We had to be very focused on our sectors. And for those of you that are new to council, we did a lot of data research in the early days in order to land on the sectors for Edmonton Global. So know that we're always looking at these. We're always pulling them apart to say, are they still relevant? So starting with hydrogen. If you think about hydrogen, and I know that as we look at, alternative energy and the shift from, not necessarily the shift, but just the change in what we're doing in terms of alternative energy, we can look at Edmonton as being the world's second lowest cost hydrogen producer, and that 60% of Canada's hydrogen supply comes from Alberta. So when we think about this on the world stage, this is $100 billion opportunity for us. And we know that Edmonton region is host to Canada's first hydrogen hub. In fact, today, and we know you've been invited to the one-day hydrogen conference that is happening in Edmonton. Moving on to health and life sciences, we hear it in the news. We see our university professors who are being noted for diabetes, for virology, for precision health. And we also know that we have strength in pharmaceutical manufacturing, drug discovery, what we call nutraceuticals, diagnostics, and medical device. and that there are over 284 life sciences companies in this region, and they're benefiting from operating in Alberta. And also that, you know, Alberta, if we think about it, with all of our challenges in healthcare, certainly we're still the largest fully integrated healthcare system. And what does that look like for the future? Serving 4.3 and counting million people, that remains to be seen. The third area is food and agriculture. And this is certainly our powerhouse and our value chain. And if I just reflect on the world events this past, year with the war between Russia and Ukraine, and just what that has done in terms of the European food sources. My husband's Austrian, so we were in Austria in November, and just the strain that not having that connection to one of the bread belts in the world. And then where is Alberta's opportunity in all of that? Like, if you really think about our agricultural prowess and what we could be doing. So we have $1.7 million not dollars, 1.7 million acres of fertile farmland. And we're also the few places in the world that produces more food than it consumes. So again, what could that look like? And I was delighted to see that you're hosting a farm to table event in March. And those are the types of things that seed ideas that look at how we can become bigger in our local markets, but also bigger in the world stage. Our fourth area, or fourth opportunity, is global logistics. And I know you're so connected to Edmonton Airports. I sat on the board of Edmonton Airports for 8 years. And so I know that master plan and that vision, but how important cargo was. At that time when I was sitting on the board, cargo was not even a discussion point in my first 2 years on that board. And then all of a sudden, cargo became such a huge part of our business strategy. And look at where we are today. So, but beyond Edmonton Airports, we have to think about, the port authorities, air, rail, pipelines, and roadways, because truly we have to look at how all those transportation modes converge. But then overall, how do we create favorable regulations and favorable benefits or like a foreign trade zone or something that allows us to do this even better? Fifth is artificial intelligence, AI, and technology. And as a board, I must say, we wrestled with this one because you could say that's part of the how, right? That is embedded in all of those other 4 sectors, and it is. But given where, artificial intelligence is burgeoning in Alberta, in Edmonton, we felt it was really important to pull it out and give it some of its own focus. So we feel that it's one of the fastest growing tech ecosystems. And we have, we had a bit of a bad news from the Google point of view in terms of DeepMind moving some of its employees out. But at the same time, we know AI, Amy and others, and the U of A, that remains a core focus of us.
Councillor Smith?
Thank you for that. I just wanted to, again, being from Parkland County, you can probably appreciate some of the transformational opportunities we do have. And Nisku is oil and gas still, and there's an opportunity to sell ethically produced oil and gas 50, 75 years from now. So hydrogen is probably a symptom of oil and gas. So I'm a little disappointed that, being from Leduc County, and again from Parkland County, that's not included in oil and gas and carbon capture. And I'll just go back to what Leduc County and Parkland County did with the phase out of coal, moving that, and it is natural gas going into there. So for us, it's really important. And again, in the heartland, a lot of it, the byproduct is hydrogen, which can be really clean and really a buzzword right now, but I think we need to still identify in driving in today, going through our business park, oil and gas is still really big, and we can buy it from Russia or we can buy it from us. And I think we need to sell that we produce ethical oil, gas, and the byproducts that come into that. So again, it's still transformational that we are doing carbon capture, that we are changing how we're doing it. The people want, unfortunately, the government in Ottawa doesn't want to really move our natural gas offshore, but that is an area I think in Alberta we still need to sell. So I hope going forward that you would incorporate the obvious, which is it's still really important to us and Parkland County and Sturgeon County and Strathcona County as well as we have that, and we are all members of it. So I hope, I know you've probably gone through your strategic planning, and it's something I would like to see us still being proud of and how we produce it. It's changed even from 2015 when the market cratered, where we'd have to pay people to take our product, but it still needs to be front and center because it's what we do here. When somebody comes in with an oil and gas project, we don't tell them that we are moving away from it. We're asking what we can better do to represent ourselves on the world market. So just a comment that I still think that's important to identify, that it may not be the most, it may not be easy to identify with it, but it's our reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. And point noted, this has been a discussion at the board table as well, because we did move our nomenclature. So I really appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I got it. I'm going back to your Red One Global Logistics, and there was 3 of us here when you brought up cargo. We first invested in cargo with Air China way back when
I
it
remember.
was a thing. But I'm going to the words Port Alberta.
Yes.
Now that's been floating around for years too. Where is that at now, and what's happening with Port Alberta? Is it just words that are sitting there again?
I'm going to turn that over to Sarah. Operationally, I know they've been doing a lot of work with Port Alberta, so I'll turn it over to you.
I may not be the best representative still, but I will definitely try my best. Is it words floating around? If you may say so, because we don't have a facility, because we don't have infrastructure, but it is an inland port that is meant to connect rail, air, especially through Port Rupert. Everyone knows Port BC is very congested. The insurance and timelines, Prince Rupert is only 8 minutes, an additional 8 minutes time from BC. We're getting a lot of attention from international, from cargo, from logistics, from supply chain, and from the federal government, Ministry of Transportation, looking at how do we develop Port Alberta as an inland port. So it may not be your building and facility and infrastructure that we can walk through, but it's definitely a pathway for logistics.
And also, I should have queued up our next slide because it was more about this, you know, what we're doing, working on in terms of access to 1.5 billion customers. I think it's this one here. The next one. Yeah. Just, I know that Malcolm, and if Malcolm were here, he could talk more to this because the discussions that we're having is in terms of, we have 14 international trade agreements. We have this air, road, sea, pipeline, rail concept. And I remember the conversations too, back in the day when I sat on Edmonton Airport's board, but I believe the conversation has shifted. As Sarah said, is it fully realized yet? Not, it is not. But I know that there's ongoing meetings, ongoing discussions in order to how to up our game around Port Alberta.
Okay, last question, and then we'll.
Yeah,
move
and
on.
just to add to that, we've kicked it down the road from the international airport across the road. I think Villeneuve Airport now has picked it up, and that's where they may try to put it forward in that airport as they're trying to become more relevant in the air
In the
cargo, I
ecosystem,
guess.
yeah.
So it's still there, but Villeneuve sees it as more of an advantage than we have at the EIA.
Thank you.
So Gail, I'm just mindful of the time.
Yes, I'm going to speed right
Yeah, if
through.
we can look to end up a little bit before, like another 7 or 8 minutes, and then some
Sure.
time for questions. That would be great. Thank you.
Do you know what? I'm thinking, given we have 7 minutes and you have had the package, I thought, why don't we just skip quickly? I'm going to look at slide 13.
Okay.
I think when we came to you last year and I watched the recap of the virtual, Eddie, Tracy, Mustafa and Chris were last year at this time for our update. We had 7 deals. Like, as a board, I want you to know how much I want to say push management, but we do to get metrics in place, but also to chase and hunt and gather the deal. And whether that's in collaboration or others or on our own, the team is back in the market, and we are proud to say that we had 11 final investment decisions in 2022. And that's everything from Donald's Fine Foods, Rand Pharmaceuticals, Deep Tech Canada for Technology, Canada Brazil Chamber of Commerce, Green Transition Holdings. And I mean, you have this all in your mid-year update, but I feel that at our strat session last year, we said, it took us this time to build the organization. And we feel we're at this inflection point where people are starting to know who we are and what we do and how we bring people to this region to shop the deal. And one of the biggest metrics that we're looking at right now to measure our success is inbound visits of companies, inbound conversations. We need to go outbound to chase and hunt, but it's when people come here that we are really leaning in to say, how do we secure new business coming into this region?
Gail,
And then-
can I ask a question about
Sure.
that then? Had an opportunity to talk to a couple of your representatives at an event I was at, and they were talking about a business that was sort of shopping the area and it needed these specific parameters. I'm not going to certainly talk about what it was. And it was like, well, that could fit, I thought, here, here, or here.
Yeah.
But nobody got back to me. Nobody got back to the county. So what is that relationship between those kinds of conversations? Because I actually thought they were pretty good ideas I had, but I felt like it was a disconnect from the work we're trying to do with our economic development. I don't know, because it has to work here, but it has to work grassroots too, right? And somewhere
Yes.
in the middle is a sweet spot. So unless somebody's feeding in the grassroots stuff, it's going to sit up here at the conceptual area, and nobody's ever going to say, oh, well, why don't you move that to Warburg? Because that'll be a perfect spot for it.
Mm-hmm. So can I just talk from a board level? Because I know what you're saying from a strategic level. How do we ensure that we're all talking to one
Absolutely.
another?
And we know what's going on.
And then operationally, how are we feeding that in? So sort of the idea pool, and how are we ensuring that we're connecting it? And I want to turn it to Sarah, just because I know you work with the EDOs, and how does that work? From the strat level, we're inviting all of you to give us feedback, good, bad, and ugly, I want to say, because we have had a very trustful, open relationship from inception, and we don't want to change that. But then when there is a disconnect, calling us on it from a board perspective, I would say call us out on it. And then I'll turn it to Sarah from an operational perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you. I can speak to that from a few different levels. So at the strategic level, we organize regional road tours, road shows of all our municipalities to go out we bring our BD team out into the region to learn your assets, to learn the inventory. So we know what is there and what to include in our high level pitches. From a deal flow perspective, unless a potential investor has pre-selected a site, they may come and say, what do you have that serves these criteria? In that scenario, we would send out, we're now organizing RFI calls where every EDO in our region is called to a call to explore the opportunity, answer any questions. And that's the opportunity for our entire EDO network to pitch in and say, that fits us. Let us put a proposal together, or no, I don't think that's for us. So that's the deal flow process. And an investor sometimes come and says, we already have a site selected. It's going in Leduc County because of blah, blah, blah. Then we don't have the authority to send that out to the entire shareholder base. Thank you.
Okay, I'm mindful of time, but I do want to give my colleague Sheethal an opportunity to just pick out any key points from any of the slides. And then you're asking great questions, so I want to invite you to ask more.
Thank you, Gail. I will just wrap up and pick up a couple of quick highlights. So as we discussed already, the hydrogen convention did take place last year. We were able to attract 4,000 visitors from around the world. Next year, this year, we will have in attendance 8,000. So that's great. As Gail said, bringing people into our region is really key. As we know today, there's actually a preparation hydrogen summit effort taking place with 450 people in attendance. So that's great. I'm not sure how many of you are physically at the /economic summit, but having been to events all over the world, this one made me really proud. We had, over 1,000 attendees, and thank you to you for participating in one of the 11 11 subcommittees, which was focused on the agricultural space. That was really crucial and attracted a lot of interest from the attendees there. So thank you very much for that. Also, I just want to talk a little bit of what's post the event that we had at /. So a big piece of that was what happens next. A lot of roundtables are taking place, and we really want to make sure that there's an EDO value added agriculture subcommittee activity, because that's absolutely an area for us for diversification and for attracting people from abroad. We have had a couple of these roundtables, and we've planned 11 more for the coming year, covering various areas of focus, which you can see in the slide deck. How we work together, Sarah has just given a nice summary of that, but we do have a list of this in the slides, and I think it's really crucial. I'm grateful to be here today myself to meet some of you, because I have met some of you, but as Mayor rightly pointed out, the open collaboration and communication, which is straightforward, is really key. So I will appreciate that going forward, and I'll be back in the region. Just finally, I just want to say, how do we support you? Obviously, we can talk about collaboration and trade, but something that's quite crucial for me is that we have hired a really incredible senior trade executive from Government of Alberta, Manisha Arora. So she's now on our team, and she's actually our first director of trade and development of the International Trade Action Plan. She comes to the table with a lot of experience, so I feel very confident about that. We know Toronto Global has done something very similar by way of structuring around municipalities, and it's worked, and we've seen evidence of how that can be a prosperous outcome for certain regions to come together. So the regional prosperity is dependent for sure on collaboration. And I just want to point out, next month we're going to bring together the regional EDO network to the local Leduc County Business and Entrepreneur Centre for quarterly meetings. And I'm really, really more than delighted about that, because having come home after 25 years, I've been here home now for 2 years. I've not seen a center like this. And I'm really excited about how we will attract not only investors and entrepreneurs from our region, but also from abroad, to be able to see our showcase of excellent value as a province, and that it is based here is really exciting. So just looking forward, we're expecting obviously great things in 2023 and 24. We do have the 5,000 vehicle challenge that's going to be taking place. We also will be hosting the NASCO reunion from August 29th to 31st. And it's really key, the whole story about supply chain and how that fits into this story. So I'm rushing because we want to get to questions, but I'm really excited about the fact that when I've come home and I see we have a very small province, how do we come together? To Councillor Smith's point, I've come back after all this time looking at oil and gas is still here, and it's going to be. And so my interest in working with Edmonton Global is, how do we leverage AI? How do we leverage data analytics? What do we do with new technology that we have to keep at the forefront of our industries, but diversify it so that it's attractive to other people? So now I thank you so much, and I'll open it up to questions.
You're a very fast talker. I appreciate that. I'll open the floor for any further questions. I have go ahead, Councillor Verdi, and then I have a couple.
I just want to clarify. So it says results from 2018 to 2022 that Edmonton Global brought in $2.4 billion of investment. Is that Edmonton Global who brought that in, or is that sort of generally speaking, or?
Yeah, so we cannot take credit for collaborative work. So what we're calling out is all of the deals that have happened that we have been a part of, but it could have been brought in from one of the counties. It could have been brought in from the airport. It could have been brought in from us. And so what's really important though, our whole mantra is collaboration and regional sort of support. And so therefore we declare those are the deals that we touch.
And if I may add to that, there's our metric around defining what is considered a deal for us is our deals where we've played a critical role to the point where that deal may not have landed without our participation, regardless of the lead source. There's a question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just a couple questions. What's the Edmonton Global's relationship with Invest Alberta and those type of government agencies that are also working on investment?
Thank you, Mayor. That's a really great question. So as we all know, Invest Alberta is a crown corporation established by the provincial government. Our shareholders are municipalities who often have a different perspective on things from the provincial government as well as the federal government. And so we also do serve similarly as an advocacy to higher levels of government. But one of the big differences here is that we will collaborate with these agencies and organizations, but we are also very specific to our region. And I'm saying that proudly, that we carry internationally our flag for the area and for the region. So when we're abroad, obviously we promote Canada first and then Alberta and then our region. But I think in the case of Invest Alberta, we have seen some good wins, and we are looking to participate shortly next month in San Francisco to host an event with Invest Alberta with an AI focus, obviously promoting Amy and the University of Alberta and the entrepreneurs we have from the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to know. My last question is another collaborative type question. Of course, we're members of the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Board, and there's two happenings that have kind of come up recently. One of them is a labor force study that was talked about briefly, and then, you know, the idea that we'll work with Edmonton Global on that. So hopefully you guys know about that. And the second one is sort of a larger one related to the Regional Agricultural Master Plan, and that's about asset mapping. The asset mapping that has not occurred in the province or the region like it has in both Saskatchewan and Alberta. That was highlighted at our economic conference we had last year on ag business. So are you guys taking an active role as a partner in those two projects, or either one? Thank you.
I would like to defer that question to Malcolm, if possible. I'm very sorry.
Malcolm usually doesn't come out. No, just
you know, with his history with ERMB, I'm sure labor workforce, we do have several initiatives. I'm not sure if we're referring to the same one. So we're in the middle of a hydrogen labor workforce study, and with Run With It Synthetics, we've also asked them to lay a labor synthetic on top of the base framework. If everyone's not familiar with Run With It, it's a synthetic modeling of our economic region with metrics like dials, where you can turn these dials up and down and help us forecast what the future workforce requirement is going to be in 2030, 2040. So, and talent is also one of the first roundtables we kicked off with food and agriculture. So we definitely are participating in a lot of talent and labor workforce related issues. Around agriculture asset mapping, I just don't know what role we would play in that initiative. I'm sure we would have some role.
well, and again, it is one of your pillars. You would think that understanding
Absolutely.
and being able to sell a region by saying, here's all the agricultural assets and transportation and infrastructure assets makes it a lot easier. So nope, that's fine. I will follow up with Malcolm.
And just another final comment. I'm looking at your results, energy, it's hidden under hydrogen renewable storage. I think it's a disservice again to the rural municipalities that do produce the energy. It's nice living in Edmonton and saying that you're into hydrogen renewables, as I live 30 kilometers out of Edmonton and breathe the air that Edmonton sends my way every day. So it's really convenient to say we don't have oil and gas. But again, if you really want a little bit more credibility with your rurals, we still produce energy that goes to the city, that goes to the world. So you can leave it out, but it affects my feeling of your credibility. If you're not speaking the truth and you talk about narrative, then it needs to be truthful, that's what we do. So I hope you consider that for the rural, because there is that split where urbans believe they're changing the world as they spew their carbon and stuff over my place. You can go out here and even look at the smoke on a day that runs down through our areas. So again, we need to truthfully speak about energy and not hide behind we're not doing oil and gas anymore. It's only renewable and hydrogen. So please consider that.
Thank you. Well said. And that's sort of, yes, it exists. We're proud of it. Our manufacturing sector is one of the best in the world. And we continue to rely on that on days when it's minus 37. So.
Thank you. That is noted for sure. I would like to also make a note. A lot of these spin-off effects from these deals we bring in, including hydrogen deals like Air Product, is the fabrication. And NISCU is definitely our leading force in fabrication. We do have, our most ideal situation is to pose Leduc County, NISCU specifically, as the fabrication hub for Canada in general. As these deals kick off, it is our chance to showcase that aspect of it. I think part of our strategic plan has been to diversify the economy, not to hide behind, what is deemed good or not good. And, honestly, when I was new, I asked a question to Malcolm. I said, US is one of our biggest partners. Why is US not one of our target markets? And what Malcolm said to me was, because we're looking at building the awareness of our region, US investments come regardless if we do any work there, and we're already known for oil and gas. And so hence we're picking up, the hard work, so to speak, to try and spread the awareness that we are more than just oil and gas, not that we are shameful of oil and gas.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. Sorry to kind of rush you through. We always have lots of questions and lots of things, and perhaps we'll look at another more of a workshop type opportunity for us to throw out some more questions and try and figure out where Leduc County is fitting in all of this. So thank you very much for your time this morning. I'm going to ask someone to move this report for information. Councillor Lewis, thank you very much. All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you. Enjoy your drive back.
Thank you, Mayor DeBlanco, and thank you, Leduc County Council. And I have taken some takeaways and we will follow back up with you.
Thank
Most
you.
appreciated. Thank you.
On to 5A, which is economic development update from Mr. White.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, and Madam Chair, I should say, and members of the committee and those watching. This report, the intention of this presentation is to provide an economic development update to the Governance and Priorities Committee. It is administration's recommendation that the Governance and Priorities Committee receive the economic development update report as information. Another option for the committee is to provide another direction. Administration is providing this update on the monthly economic activities for January 2023 using the strategic plan and the operation plans as guidelines. Recent activities: Leduc County Business and Entrepreneur Center, the BEC, also previously known as the Niski Recreation Center. An expression of interest was publicly posted to gauge interest from businesses on potential companies utilizing the BEC. Information that will be used to develop a longer-term business case for the BEC and make some responsible business decisions for the facility. Administration continues to expand the operational capacity, make improvements through leveraging government grants. We've also been showcasing. Sorry,
Councillor Lewis, go ahead.
You posted expressions of interest. Did you get any response?
Yes, and we have actually been showing some prospective businesses through the building. Even as early as an hour ago.
Ooh, great.
So once again, the intention of this is to see what is actually out there. What is the expectation of those businesses? How much are they willing to spend to come in, and for how long as well, so that we can make those decisions on the facility. Also using the grant, leveraging the grant, administration recently entered into a 2023 agreement with the Chamber of Commerce, where they will be hosting on our benefit business events, programs, meetings, including having a member of their staff within the building 3 days a week. Administration is also exploring the development of a mini marketplace for consumer county business package goods that would be sold at the BEC. The previous contract, building contractor and business programmers contract concluded in 2022. The BEC recent measurable performance metrics include 5 businesses maintained, enhanced, or expanded, 4 medium or small enterprises assisted, and 50 participants trained. Now, these metrics are specifically aligned with the Prairie Scan grant and their expectations for the grant. And also recently we reported in with Prairie Scan just to make sure we're on the right track. And they were very happy with our results, and we expect that we will meet all the expectations and timelines. Upcoming events at the BEC, Edmonton Global just mentioned, we'll be having the Economic Development Officer event. We had a Leduc County Regional Economic Development Officers, so all the officers in the immediate area came in just for a little chat about where things are going in the region. Also, we'll be having an agritourism training workshop, and that is also leveraging the Prairie Scan grant as well for that farm to table sector. We are expecting a few other events to be finalized in the next month or so. And customer relations management, also known as CRM. So administration is recording economic development activities, including producing some initial analytics that's included in your report. It should be noted that in that report, that is derived from Salesforce. It is going to be taking those bits of information and will be refining and developing that report that you would be seeing every month at this committee. And so the first one that you've seen there has a bit of skewed metrics in it. As the survey, we had about 235 businesses that said they were fine with us collecting their information. And then the next month, we were taking some of the information we've already had, business cards we've collected and already and putting it in there. So over the next few months, we will try to design a dashboard that for this committee can get all the information that you're looking for and can make those comparisons. Retention and expansion. Through the federal grant as well, we engaged Lockhaven consultants to assist us in some business visitations and peer mentorship. Recently, 7 local business visitations, including follow-ups from that survey. So in some cases, there would be a question on relocation. Does relocation mean we're looking to relocate within Leduc County, or are we looking to go outside? And if we are looking to go outside, why are we looking to go outside? Is there something that's within this municipality that we are not providing? Would that be infrastructure, fiber, or any sort of water lines, or access to market and return on investment? The new peer, and also I should say that there'll be a workshop in mid-February where the consultant that did the work for the survey will be coming in as well with administration, and we can answer some of the more detailed questions on what we heard out there from the businesses. A new peer mentorship program is also being developed with the same consultants. This group is engaging with our team to develop a peer mentorship program for business retention and activities. And in that survey, we had 57 businesses that said that they were very interested in being a mentor and helping us through that. Regional economic development from the Collaborative Economic Development Group. For those that are not familiar, that is the Regional Municipality Initiative joining up together on potential investments, strategic investments and initiatives, which is purely on a voluntary matter. At the end of January, a update for regional county managers, CAOs was updated on the initiative status. A mayor's level update is expected in mid-February of this month. And this, once again, this initiative is completely voluntary. A custom designed financial tool is in its testing phase, and it is meant to use development scenarios, imaginary development scenarios from potential areas of land within the region, and then putting those inputs of roads, infrastructure, and what those costs would be. And if a municipality was to join up, put in a percentage, what that would look like at the end for the return on investment for those municipalities. Another consultant has also been selected to develop the regional site selection criteria to help identify which areas of land in the region would be perceived to have the best value. The economic development team continues to be part of the Leduc County's land use bylaw review, providing economic development perspective. And also I should add that the economic development is working on a separate website with the good support of our GMs who have provided some really great people to help work with us. The intention of this website, it is an economic development specific website. And while it is still attached to the municipality, that the intention of that is for economic development purposes. And I sit available for questions should the committee have any.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
In the past, I believe the mayor of Leduc hosted a lot of the area politicians to come out, and I hear it was really successful. I'm wondering, would we be able to host something at our new facility since it's been renovated, led by our mayor, inviting other politicians in to join us just for a regional update informal? It'd be a great way to introduce our business to people from St. Albert, Strathcona County, Parkland County. And of course, our mayor can host it. Bob Young, I believe, did it last time, and I heard lots of positive feedback from Beaumont, from St. Albert. So it would be a great opportunity, A, to showcase what you've done over there, and B, allow that forum led by our mayor for regional leadership.
Through to you, Chair, to you, Councillor. I can tell you that I can pretty well guarantee that the building will get a good rate.
Go ahead, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. Just pushing back to your peer mentorship program, would there be an opportunity to work with junior high students around the area? I look right now where my child's attending, and one of their options is board games, which to me is pretty pathetic. So to find some way to tie in our economic development, there would be a connection between a taxpayer and the benefit to their child, to try to tie in somehow some type of skills that they can actually walk away from school using, as opposed to learning how to play different board games. I'd be happy to be part of a conversation, some type of whatever it takes, but we need to do more with our youth and promote them to be business leaders, entrepreneurs, give them the tools to actually succeed in life.
Through to you, Chair, in regards to that question, I can say, just going to be careful, that there is an education group looking at the BEC right now in regards to children at school age, but we will reach out to you through the GM there and we will talk about that.
Mr. White, I see we have on hold March 24th for our economic summit. Do we know when we'll be able to firm that up? Are we waiting for speaker? I'm quite anxious. I thought our last two were great. So I was just quite anxious about, are we waiting for it? Is it looking like that's a go date?
At this point, that is a go date.
Okay.
We are working on the schedule right now and also what is going to be occurring that then. There are a lot of regional events happening at the same time. And we want to make sure that we, make very responsible decisions on holding events, and that we have been reaching out as well to real estate agents and developers and things like that, and hoping to have something as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I love the metrics and the start of the dashboard. I think that's going to be a great way to keep council informed about what's going on. I appreciate that extra work. With that, I'll ask someone to move this for information. Councillor Wanchuk, any further comments or questions for Mr. White? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, sorry, Mr. Grayson.
Yeah, I just want to make a couple of generic points. We're being fairly modest here in regards to where we are with economic development here with Leduc County. The 2 points I want to make is the reason for the website is to create Leduc County, the county way. There seems to be a stronger need to be ID'd as Leduc County. And I know we've in the past, you've had a lot of reference to Nisku, and they are part of Leduc County, but the economic development team is working hard to put our branding out there as Leduc County, have our own website. New, hopefully, tagline will go with that. That will reflect Leduc County. We will work collaboratively with our neighbors, with Edmonton Global, Alberta Invest, Seed. Obviously, working together could make a little more progress in regards to some of the investments, but the bottom line is, in the end, business decisions are made and deals are created based on Leduc County. And we're working on some tools to help us. We're working on some, I would say, collaborative ventures that hopefully can bear some fruit here for taking one more step forward in regards to the future of Leduc County. And I think it's important that we're all advocates of Leduc County, regardless of where or when, but at all events. And I think we're heading in the right direction. We've got a few more, I guess, tricks up our sleeve, I guess, to help enhance Leduc County as we move forward, but we're doing well. We've made steps forward. I just feel we need to make note of that. I know the report gives you a little more detail, but I can tell you as a team, the whole group, everybody that's been involved from the beginning, at least in my venture here since last July, I think we're taking steps forward to have success, set ourselves up for continued success, and hopefully we'll be able to reflect that with some nice announcements and businesses coming forward and being a part of Leduc County. So thank you.
Great to know. Thank you. We have a motion on the floor, but go ahead, Councillor Verdi. No, you can, if you have a question for, go ahead.
Just maybe a quick question. I'm just trying to differentiate this venture. So one question is it fully Leduc County funded, or will it generate some sort of revenue?
I assume you're referring to the BEC?
Yes, the
Yes.
back, yeah.
So the initial thing right now is that the Prairie Scan grant expires in the end of March. And at that point, then we will be on our own. But what we are doing right now is that this expression of interest is to be able to get a clear picture of how much the building costs to operate, how much interest we have in it, but also what other metrics can we use to measure that. So if it is not necessarily financial, is it unlocking other business and sector opportunities by having somebody in there? So what we will be doing is we are going to, we expect the close of the expression of interest, I believe, is the middle of this month. And then we will be approaching senior administration at that point on what we found.
Yep, one more, absolutely.
And just another maybe note just for your consideration. So I'm not sure, just reading through the notes, I'm not sure how it differs from, co-work space or ghost kitchens and these kind of, real estate assets that are kind of similar from reading about it. So if that's just for your consideration, maybe look into that, because there's a lot of these sort of assets around. So maybe there's some research there that you might want to consider.
Yeah, no, one of the things that we did look at is what is in the region right now, where just down the street where they have a kitchen as well. That is a kitchen that has a very specific use and a very specific price point. And that the intention of this grant is to take small and medium businesses and help assist them to go into the next level. So that is, the marching orders we have from that grant. If that answers the question, I hope.
Okay, thank you for that. Thanks for the questions. We have a motion on the floor. I see no more questions. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. We're going to move into 6A, which is Q4 2022 Long Range Planning Quarterly Update. And whenever you're ready, just flip your microphone on.
Okay. Good morning, Mayor and Council, or Chair and Committee. My name is Karen Oxley, Senior Planner, and I'm here this morning to share what Long Range Planning has been working on. First is the Southern Country Residential Area Structure Plan, affectionately known as SCRASP. Council held a public hearing on January 24th and successfully passed second reading on the bylaw. However, the bylaw failed to receive third reading as some minor clerical revisions were needed. As the bylaw technically failed third reading, the bylaw is now considered defeated and the legislative process will need to be reinitiated. First reading of a new bylaw has been scheduled for next week, February 14th. And should the plan receive first reading, another public hearing will be scheduled for March 14th. Long Range Planning has been working with engineering and the engineering consultants in regards to the Central Nisku Area Redevelopment Plan on the sewer and water utilities capacity study. We are expecting to receive a draft of the findings in late February and early March, which won't quite be ready to share publicly until it undergoes the internal technical review. But we will have an idea of what the data looks like and can start to make some conceptual ideas and planning. Making the assumption of timely delivery of those engineering inputs, which also includes the transportation master plan. We are still eyeing public engagement for the spring of this year. Our new project, which has been given the working name of the 510 Local Area Structure Plan, very original, I know, for the remaining unplanned lands in Nisku located north of Township Road 510. We are anticipating a formal project kickoff in Q3 of this year, and we'll be bringing forward a project charter for council approval before that time. However, background work and project planning are currently underway. I'm going to be working with economic development a little bit and bring that perspective into the planning process on that one. The North Major Area Structure Plan was repealed and the East Vista's Local Area Structure Plan was amended to become a standalone area structure plan by council on May 10th of 2022. Administration is working to consolidate and revise the remaining local area structure plans that reference the North Major, so including the WAM, the Queen Elizabeth II Business Park, and the Royal Cabrera local area structure plans to reflect this current statutory context. The annual reporting and analysis for both the municipal development plan, monitoring and implementation projects is underway for 2022. It is anticipated this will be presented to council in May or June of this year. And additionally, our work group has been working through some side of desk tasks to address some of the deliverables from the investment readiness and implementation strategy, as well as the municipal development plan in terms of procedures, which will help to improve workflow within and between work groups, as well as with applicants. And finally, Mr. Evans is with me today and has an update on the investment readiness and implementation strategy he would like to share. Thank you. If you have any questions.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to give a quick update to council about the investment readiness and implementation strategy, or IRIS as we refer to it. So just as a reminder for council, this is a project that was funded by what was then Western Economic Diversification, now Prairies Can, out of the some of the coal phase out work that we had done. It was funded in 2019. We funded some of our initial economic development, standing up of that group, as well as doing a number of strategies and studies around making ourselves more investment ready at the county. So that included, the overall strategy. We also looked at some of the vacant and underutilized properties in Nisku that feeds into the central Nisku work. We did an economic impact study around Nisku Spine Road, and that fed into some of the work we did around getting funding for that. But I just wanted to give council a heads up that that program has now completed, and we submitted our final report to that just last week. So,
Okay, thank you for that. Questions? I have two. We are working on our land use bylaw, correct? Why is that not included in this update? We just had an update, or?
Madam Chair, that would come from a different subgroup within the planning and development group. So
silo of plan.
we certainly do work with them on that, but we do not lead them.
Okay. And again, working very slowly and cautiously through our land use bylaw update, and understanding that we want it to create it easier for people to live and work in Leduc County, not more difficult. My second question is under the Central Nisku Local Area Redevelopment, and a sentence caught my eye, which is about due to having to undertake additional infrastructure assessment projects. So are we seeing that the infrastructure there may need some upgrades in order to be able to meet the needs of what we're planning there? Or was it just, we just need to just look at it a different way? Thank you.
Madam Chair, that is what we're working on currently with WSP. So that's what we're anticipating, hopefully the end of this month, beginning of March.
Understand if we have enough capacity for what we plan. Okay,
Exactly.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. Couple questions. Southern Country Residential Area Structure Plan, that's been advertised in the newspaper and on our website that we are doing first reading again on the 14th. I've had quite a few calls, people not knowing about it, people not understanding the process that it went through. That will be public as well, correct?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. So it would come back for first reading next week, and subject to it getting support for first reading, then we would go through the full advertisement process for the public hearing the next month.
Perfect. My second question would be, every other aspect of these plans that are on this page has a public participation aspect of it, and which is advertised on the website as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. Within its appropriate timing, it will be absolutely when we're ready.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? See none. Looking for someone to move his information. Councillor Balazer, thank you very much. Any further comments, questions, or debate? Yep. Sorry, Councillor. Yeah.
With our whole nonsense going on with this land use update and everything going on from coming out of Thorhild and crazy stuff we've been getting, I did have some calls, and I just wanted to make a comment on the fact that the calls that I had, I was talking to one lady, and I said, well, if you want to keep up to date, you go on our website, and which I hadn't done myself, but as we were talking, she did it, and she's, well, I'm not seeing it, and then all of a sudden it popped up, and she's good, and while I'm talking, she's signed up for all the notifications and everything. So just kudos to the system. It's easy to find, and you can notify or tell the people when they call that they can get all these public notifications, because they ask and want to know about the newspapers and stuff. Well, we don't get newspapers. We got no dependable newspaper to go. So this is our only way. So it's just a comment that it's working well. You can just
we can continue to refer
website, and it's easy to find, and they can get signed up, and hopefully they'll get all the notifications that we need to keep this going, because, well, that was the thing there. They said it was not in Thorhild. It wasn't publicized. Nobody knew about it. It probably was advertised, but if it's like here, if you don't go and pick up a newspaper, pick up the right publications, you're not going to get the notifications. So it's just good to know that ours is there and it's working well.
And that's a great advertisement as well, that if you are interested in keeping up with the changes in our land use bylaw, you can go online and do that. Thanks for that. That's a good commercial. I appreciate that. We do have a motion on the floor to accept his information. All in favor? That is unanimous. And as we move into Mr. Bain's report, I did read in the county market that by the end of March, they will no longer have a print paper. They will go totally online. Luckily, though, we've already done our bylaw for alternate advertising, but it is sad for our rural communities. And not sad for our rural communities is Mr. Bain. Looking forward to your report on joint advocacy for improved renewable energy project governance.
Thank you for that, Madam Chair.
Please.
You have a report in your package, and just some background. The county received a letter from Rocky View County back in December, and Rocky View is looking at establishing an advocacy effort and process to attract some participation from like-minded municipalities with the objective of improving governance around renewable energy projects. And so the advocacy work would involve the hiring of a consultant who would support the initiative. There would be a steering committee that would be formed. The consultant would essentially lead the work. So there is a funding commitment that would come with participation to the tune of $10,000, and up to $10,000 is sort of the way it's currently structured. And so the advocacy initiative is expressly not intended to oppose the idea of renewable energy projects necessarily. They are seen as part of Alberta's future in securing energy and so on, being part of that strategy. And rather, the intent is to advocate for improved governance around those projects. And we've seen firsthand probably why that could be important for Leduc County and other rural municipalities. And one of the key ideas behind this work is to try to bring some direct influence for municipalities on locational decisions for these projects. That's not an opportunity that currently exists in any formal way. And so the stated objectives of the advocacy work are for the Alberta government to develop an overarching policy framework regarding renewable energy projects that grants municipalities increased influence over locational decisions. And secondly, to create a process to protect municipalities from future financial risk associated with reclamation, decommissioning of projects as well. Again, there's no established framework that exists around that piece. And so there's some discussion in here as well, Madam Chair, that kind of reminds council around the legislative framework that exists in relation to these projects. They are not exempt from municipal planning regulations, so they're not exempt from land use bylaws. However, the provincial approval, which is provided through the Alberta Utilities Commission, does prevail over those decisions. And so there's very limited scope that municipalities have to participate in the process. The only way that for that to happen in a formal way is for the municipalities to register concerns through the AUC process. That requires that municipalities be granted standing by the AUC, and there's no guarantee that they would actually do that. And so administration believes there's merit in participating in this work, Madam Chair. As mentioned, there would be a funding requirement that would come with doing that, and the report in the recommendation does provide a source for Leduc County's contribution if council wishes to proceed in that direction.
Thank you very much. Comments, questions? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. Your report says they invited 27 other municipalities, which is, if everyone participated, would be $270,000 to a third party consultant. Is that correct?
Well, Madam Chair, that would presume that all 27 would participate. I think it actually could be, it's probably, there were 27 that were initially invited in. I believe it's a bigger number than that now, but I don't have a sense of who has indicated at this point they're in or not in. But the 10,000 per municipality is an up to 10,000. So I wouldn't anticipate that if it's 27 times 10,000, that it would be $270,000 worth of work. It is an up to limit. So the work would be scoped by a steering committee, and that would determine the budget for the work.
Would we be on the steering committee, or what would our role be?
Madam Chair, it's potentially the case that we could be. It's if there's interest in doing that, then we could indicate that interest back to Rocky View. Rocky View is sort of getting this off the ground, but they're not necessarily interested in leading the work. So I would suggest there would be an opportunity for Leduc County to be represented on the steering committee, and I don't believe it's yet determined whether it would be elected officials or administrative folks or both, a combination of the two. Right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith, and then I have a couple.
I'm wondering if this is something that could be a resolution at RMA and have RMA push it on our behalf. Again, in an election year, it's probably pretty tough to do much. And the dollars may disappear pretty quickly as the government is promising everything to everybody. I'm not sure I can support it without running it first through RMA as a resolution to see if we can again use our provincial body to further this, because it is the thing, it's an issue, not only for the others. And again, I'll just look for other direction from council.
I believe there was either an emergent or one at the RMA. Ms. Klamosko, comment?
I do believe there is some work being done by RMA. I would have to go and to their website just to look at what state that is at.
Mr. Bain?
Madam Chair, I know that the RMA board were considering a proposal around the end of January, so I'm not sure what the outcome of that was. I can say that the work that Rocky View has done to initiate this effort has been coordinated directly through RMA staff. So there's an awareness there, and they see this as being complementary to what some of the objectives of RMA are around this issue.
Thank you. It's interesting because I would support this. I think that as we are the government that's closest to the people, when people find out whether if there's a wind farm or a solar farm going on, they turn to their local council and say, why would you allow that? And we have to come back and say, well, no, we actually don't get to allow or not allow that, which becomes very awkward. I think that because, as it's stated in the letter, that we are responsible for land use planning in our jurisdictions, that we should have some level of engagement prior to prior to decisions being made or places being cited even, so that we're protecting both our residents, but also protecting the larger development around the county. So this is interesting, but I actually had a thought while I was reading it that's bigger than this, because, and I know Councillor Smith had this issue out in New Sarepta, and it's about, you know, when we look at where are we going to put cell towers. Again, we're left to say, yep, they're going there and we can't do anything but stand up and say we don't like them. So it might be a bigger issue. I mean, this might be a place to start, right, with the Alberta government before we try and take on the federal government and radio and telecommunications or whatever that is. But I think there is a place, if we are charged as municipalities to create development that makes sense, then having a say in where these types of activities, be it a wind farm or a solar farm, go is critically important to the development of our municipalities. So I would support it. I might have a different motion to put forward on the floor, but I would support it. I have Councillor Balazer and then Councillor Lewis.
Yeah, okay, Grant. Now, recently RAMP has been approved. Now, would RAMP have anything to say, or could they be involved in something like this when good land is being taken up by, and we have a prime example going on here, or is RAMP really just getting off the ground and no say yet, or will they ever?
Madam Chair, RAMP is just a plan, right? RAMP is just a document at the end of the day. It's a valuable and useful document, but it does identify prime ag land. It is a factor, I would suggest, in what should be the decision-making process around these facilities. And so using the Creekside project as the recent example in our jurisdiction, the county made a submission yesterday to the AUC on that file, and it was largely built around impact on agricultural operations, viability of agriculture in that area, and the loss of and fragmentation of farmland. Like, it's the key issue for municipalities, right?
Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. I'd like to hear more about where RMA is with this file, and I would hate to duplicate it and run parallel to it. Could we get information back on that? Maybe we defer this motion to our next.
If I may,
on timing.
yeah, if I may, Councillor Lewis, I was going to actually try and weave that into a motion, right? So, and I'm not saying the motion right now, but that we actually respond with interest to Rocky View and ask for additional information about RMA to be brought forward prior to funding being. With that, and then it doesn't defer it, it allows us to move forward. It gives us an answer back, but it's saying we want to ensure we're working as a collaborative on this. Shall I try and, you'd like that, Ms. Gavin, for me to try and make that up? So I think it's pretty simple though. I think we could say the motion could be that Leduc County respond to Rocky View County and indicate our intention in principle to participate in the joint advocacy campaign following. Just what else is there? To participate in the joint advocacy campaign. And then after campaign, following additional information on RMA activities in this area. Yep. Or whatever makes sense on this issue. Does that make sense? So it says, yes, we'll say in principle, and then we'll get that other information, and then we can make a decision about funding. Is that? Okay, I'm seeing a nod from Councillor Lewis. Go ahead, Councillor.
Just to comment on it, I totally support this. I think we need to go at it from every angle that you can to get after government. We tend to have people there, and the possibility of different people getting in that are even more ready to rubber stamp these kind of projects wherever they might go. Not worrying about where they go or what's going to happen 20 years down the road when they're finished. And it's just all going to leave us with a mess. So I do believe we need to get in and push this from every angle that we possibly can to get some say on what's going to happen here.
Any other comments? Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions on the motion on the floor? So we'll let them know we want to involve, but we'll get some information back from RMA. So we're working together. Okay. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Bain. Ms. Klamosko, 7A is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. We have a report for your consideration today to look at 2023 Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference attendees. So the conference is being held in Toronto later this year. So we provided some background information for your consideration. So funding for the attendance to this conference is included already in the 2023 budget, so there's no further budget implications. So information is provided here in terms of the conferences being held, as I said, in Toronto on May 25th to 28th. We have a policy in place that establishes that when the conference is being held out of province, that a maximum of 3 council members would attend the conference on a rotational basis. So we have had expressed interest from 4 council members, so they are noted in the report. And it also indicates a couple of members that have not attended an FCM conference previously, and that would be Councillor Lewis and Councillor Verdi. And then we just provided a little bit of attendance history in terms of the FCM conferences that have occurred in the last 5 years and who attended on behalf of council. So it is for council discussion and a recommendation of attendees for the conference in 2023.
Thank you very much. Councillor Balazer.
Yeah, I see you got up to 3 now. When I was down to Halifax with Tanny and Larry, Mr. Coleman also attended. Is there room for any administration in this, or is this just strictly council that you got mentioned here?
So within our budget in the county manager's office, we do have attendance for a representative from our department, county manager, or a delegate to attend the conference as well. So this would just be solely for council attendees.
So we're actually in a bit of a unique situation because one of the few councils that have actually carried over for the other from one year to the other, with Dell being the only new person on our council. In the past, it would be an actual literal draw out of a hat and then work through. I certainly would support Councillor Lewis attending. I would actually support Councillor Verdi attending as well, because I think he is new. And then perhaps we look at putting Councillor Smith and Councillor Wanchuk's name in a hat, drawing one out, and then we have our 3 members. So that would be a process I would suggest, but I am open for any other ideas anyone else has. Councillor Balazer, are you? Oh,
yeah, I was just going to say, I've discussed this with Councillor Verdi as of this morning, and I feel exactly the same way. There's 2 here that definitely need to attend, experience what it's all about. I had a phone call with Mr. Coleman on Friday, I guess, about this, and the interest from him was about the same. And so I'm not going to sit here and pick or choose between the other 2. So I'm glad you came up with that one, because thank you for that.
Well, it was actually Ms. White's idea from a million years ago. Go ahead, Councillor Wanchuk.
Yes, I think I'll withdraw my name.
Oh, okay.
That makes it simple.
Okay, so then we will need a motion of who attends. Ms. Klamosko? I will make a motion. Oh, Councillor, unless you're...
Just have a comment before we go into it. I see the budget is $5,500 a person. As I get older, I fly first class. I can fly home early and not stay 5 nights, but I would like to see if we're allowed to attend a maximum of $5,500 per person. The rooms that we had looked at are $700. I can move 1 block away and stay for $400. As I get older with health concerns, it's really difficult going back into the Cataliner on the plane. And so I wouldn't be interested in going. However, if the amount was as shown here as a maximum, I could attend. Again, the last night, I don't need to stay in a hotel room. I can sleep on the plane and when I come home. But again, I'm not interested in going with the current one. However, I could make the trip quite manageable with the $5,488 that's allocated per person at this point and choose how to spend that money on hotel rooms, flights, and of course, registration is nothing. I mean, even if there's things that I go beyond, I will incur my own expenses. And I have checked into private businesses in the Nisku area. Any flights over 3 hours, they generally will allow their people to fly in a business class now. So again, I will withdraw my name if that's an issue on the flights.
Counselor, sorry, Ms. Klamosko, that is an estimate amount of money. Any comments on Counselor Smith? Your microphone isn't on.
So we can examine some of the options in terms of the cost implications of those considerations and see what the impact of the budget would be. I know that perhaps Ms. Anderson, in terms of hotel reservations, I know we can look into other alternative options as well.
Thank you. Counselor Lewis?
Thank you. Is that 773 per night? Because I was looking into hotels and a block away and they are way less than that. I can't support a $700 a night hotel.
Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to council. That's the current rate and that's the hotel that's connected with the conference, but there are room blocks opening up and I'll be checking back frequently to make sure we get those rates.
So we will work to be efficient and effective with taxpayers' dollars. And just Councillor Smith, just to your comment, I know when I went to Halifax, I just paid the marginal bit extra to go business. It was a couple $100, and that was my choice. It was no big deal. It was more comfortable, and I had nicer snacks.
If I could follow up on that, I think it's $300 in the Cataliner section, and it is $900 in business class. So it is quite a bit. I actually
Depends on when you upgrade it.
yeah, and again, so I mean, if there's a budgeted amount, I can bring it in on budget on hotels. I mean, I don't need to stay the last Saturday night in Toronto. I can be at the airport at 10 at night and fly home through the night instead of spending an extra $400 or $500 on hotels. So I can fit it in. And again, if today you do the approval and it's not acceptable,
You can pull your name.
yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
Okay, that's what I was
before we
suggesting.
register. Thank you.
Okay, so I will make a motion that Councillors Smith, Lewis, and Verdi attend the 2023 Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference in Toronto. And again, should something come up and you're not able to attend or you choose not to, it would come back to council. All right. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? That is unanimous. Great. We are going to move in camera. I need someone to move us into an in camera part. Councillor Lewis, thank you very much. All in favor? And we will wait until we are off you would think for a $700 hotel room, you have a view of the ocean at the very least. Costs are crazy. Yeah, well, you may not know, might not be. Okay. Okay. Joining us back, we have gone through our in-camera items, 8A, B, and C. We have two motions coming out of that. We have made no motion in camera aside from a motion to come out. So I'm looking for someone to put their name to the motion on the Leduc Transit Joint Venture Agreement. Councillor Balazer? Okay. Any comments or questions on that? So we'll continue to work with the city of Leduc on their transit? Yes. Okay. I can't read it with, yeah, thank you with that. So that the Governance and Priority Committee rescind resolution GP 45020, and Councillor Lewis will finish reading that because I can't read.
And withdraws the notice to the city of Leduc to terminate the Leduc Transit Joint Venture Agreement.
Thank you. Any comments? We're happy to work with the city of Leduc and hopefully some of our other regional partners on transit. All in favor? Unanimous. We have a second motion related to our library board. Councillor Smith.
I'd make that motion that we appoint Barb Trempner as a public member at large to the Leduc County Library Board for a term expiring December 31, 2026.
Thank you. Comments or questions on the library board appointment? Seeing none, all in favor? And I will adjourn. Thank you, everybody, at 12 o'clock.